I don't know about you, but I personally love spending my time on sites like YouTube, Reddit, and 4chan. Usually you come across pretty standard content, such as vlogs or discussions about whatever's popular, but this night was different. I came across something odd while browsing 4chan's panel award. It was a post by a man who claimed that God was talking to him through clouds by using various numbers and symbols. Now, I know what you're thinking, that this is probably some guy who wants to get popular online and just wants some attention. I thought the same thing, and like everyone else would, I continued on with my life and didn't give it a second thought. Fast forward a month, as I'm browsing 4chan again, I come across a similar post, but this time it was much more sophisticated than the last. It read, "I think I deciphered the alien/God message. First you convert all the letters to numbers, A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3, etc. Then you treat it as an equation. 2,522 to the power of 1 divided by 7 to the power of 20 times 0.3. The result is 1.0000666, and that could be 10,00666, which is Jew 666. Obviously, that means Jew 666. Everyone knows that Jews call themselves God's chosen one, so this message is God's chosen one 666. Here's the solution to the 666 riddle. So the message was really God's chosen one 666, Chris BB 72876. I found this interesting and decided to find out more about this mysterious man and his strange occurrences. And in doing this, I literally jumped straight into the void and discovered something much bigger than I'd ever expected. This is the story of Chris B. Upon entering the YouTube channel titled Proof of God, as referenced by the 4chan post, we can see that there are numerous videos about God and of strange objects in the sky. It doesn't take long to notice that something is a bit off with the sky. One of the first videos you see is one titled Giant Rat Creature, in which just shows a video of a marmot walking around a parking lot. If you watch just a few of his videos, you will quickly learn that the man's name is Chris BB to be exact. At the beginning of each video, Chris reads a letter that he wrote to his best friend named Yahweh, who's the same friend mentioned in multiple 4chan posts. He then proceeds to go outside and points out formations, numbers, and symbols that the clouds have supposedly formed for him. He says that this is an act of God, and uses this as proof of his existence.
It's that time again for another amazing episode of Proof of God, the show where I try to prove to you in less than a few minutes that there really is a magical, mystical entity on earth with us that goes by the name God or Yahweh. And basically what I do is the being is always watching and listening, so I write it and read it a letter and ask it to create signs in the clouds, and then I go outside and film the signs if it responds. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to read this letter, ask for some signs if a question is true, and then go outside and film the sky and see if Yahweh creates the signs in the clouds to answer me. So here we go. Dear best friend Yahweh, hello again, my good friend. How are you? I hope you are well and happy. Do you want to create another video with me today? If so, I'll ask for signs if the answer to a question is true. Then you create the signs in the clouds if the answer really is true. As you know, The mentally retarded, big fucker, faggot lover Canadians are the worst people in the universe. I suspect that means that the women who provide pleasure to Canucks are the most revolting filth in the universe. So, if it's true that Canadian women are the most revolting and vile pieces of shit in the universe, who will be sent to the most evil hell ever imagined to be terrorized worse than all others forever, then create a face in the clouds when I go outside to be with you. Regards, Chris. P.S. I love you. So here we go. We're going to go outside and film the clouds, and we're going to see if somehow, if Yahweh is here watching and listening, if he heard me read the letter, then somehow, miraculously, a face should appear in the clouds to confirm that the Canadian women will go to the most evil hell ever imagined. Let's get this thing focused. Alright. So as you can see, there's hardly any clouds, so it'll take a miracle. Green. But I think there's an eye right there, and then a smile with a line on it, and a bit of a nose leading into the clouds. So it looks sort of like a face. But I can't really tell. I'll have to go in and check this video afterwards and see. So anyway.
While this is somewhat interesting, Chris's channel is very simple and basic in nature, and gets repetitive quite quickly. I eventually got bored and decided to go back to 4chan and move on with my day. That's when I noticed another link. One to his journal. I reluctantly clicked on it, not knowing what I was about to dive into. Upon opening the document titled First Contact, readers are immediately sucked into Crispy's world. Throughout this vast 113-page journal, there are many negative comments about Canada, accounts of hallucinations, and countless occurrences of messages in the sky being translated. The first sentence of the journal states, "The following is a report for humanity about a communication experience with extraterrestrial visitors." And shortly after reads, "Anyways, during the 70s, the adults in government of Canada created rituals out of molesting children." These two statements carry a lot of weight and make you wonder, what is really going on with Chris B? According to the journal, everything started in July of 2017. Chris recalls seeing balls of light fly through the sky and flashing signals at him. He claims they then started forming patterns together, and then he tried to share this information with the world. Chris wrote, "As we signaled back and forth, we formed a 3x3x3 cube of numbers. I had read protocols online about what to do if you establish communication with aliens, and they said to notify humanity. I tried sharing the experience with humanity and was brutally insulted everywhere I went, so I continued on my own." After several months of continuous communication, Chris claims that he started noticing patterns and developed a way of translating the messages using the direction in which lights were, how high they were, and the time of day in which they appeared in the sky. On August 24th of 2018, after over a year of communication, Chris had finally created a cipher to decode the alien message. This consisted of multiple variables and odd numbers as shown on the screen. While the math behind this is quite complicated and hard to follow, Chris goes into little detail about how he developed this cipher. Instead, almost all of his journal is about his experiences with these beings and their messages he sends to them, and they then send back. The first message Chris received was a song called "Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress," which is written by The Hollies. He then talks about the song lyrics and how they correlate with Bible verses, astronomy, and numbers the entities in the sky have shown him. While the calculations made to come to this conclusion is very hard to follow, from what I can see, they seem to be mathematically correct, and whether this is a hoax or not, must have taken ages to come up with. Chris even provides pictures of his math calculations for almost all instances of communication is similar to this one. Chris asks the beings very strange questions. Most of his conversations involve God, sex, Canada, IQ, and power. One day, he wrote, "I suddenly started getting lots of ideas about sex. They were like faint visions, some kind of bizarre mind sex." And later on wrote, "So I made a video asking if I'm the judge of humanity and if their fate lies in my hands, and the being said, yes." Chris also writes about Canada. There are numerous occasions where he accuses Canada of doing ritual abuse, child molestations, and weird sex orgies. Chris writes, "I don't have one good memory of Canada, just memories of them molesting me, abusing me, and terrorizing me in their quest to try to be better than someone who matters."
Okay, I thought I would show you something that I discovered many years ago when I tried to solve the riddle of Revelations 13:18. Basically, I was just messing around and I kind of discovered this. Okay. I was the third born child, so you start at the 3 o'clock position on a circle, and then write the alphabet in a circle, and draw a triangle, and it points to the letters of my name, Chris BB, or CBB, which is 322. Then I discovered my birthday is 7 with 28 and 76, July 28th, 1976. And 7, the old style 7, it's basically like a partial inverted triangle. So you get the right side triangle, the right side triangle here, and then the inverted triangle here, which is like 7, 28, 76, 322, and the side becomes approximately 666. All right, and that creates, like you see on the top one here, it's an almost complete hexagram or seal of Solomon. All right, so you get the seal of Solomon, Chris BB, 7, 28, 76, 666. All right, the seal of Solomon was apparently given to King Solomon by God and gave him dominion over all evil. The seal of Solomon gives dominion over evil. So basically, what humanity did was design this to make me symbolic of God. And then fucking started molesting and abusing me as a child. The Canadians did. Started molesting and abusing me as a child. And so humanity became worse than me. So I basically have dominion over the human race. And that's one way. That's one way that 666 comes up to my identity. The hexagram is the seal of Solomon relates to my identity, Chris BB, 72876. And there's something else I'll show you. This is what I'm playing to try to figure it out, right? So 666 is supposed to be the beast or the antichrist. If 666 is the anti or opposite Christ, then 999 would be Christ. The Christogram of Jesus Christ is ICXC, which is Roman numerals. So if you play with that as Roman numerals, with a smaller value preceding the larger value, you subtract it. Subtract the smaller value that precedes the larger value, then ICXC becomes 9990. And there's Jesus at a cross, right? So basically you start off with ICXC and a cross, which is Jesus Christ and a cross. All right? Okay. Revelations 13 times 18 equals 234. And it's number 666. So 666 minus 234 equals 432. All right, so you basically you draw 9990, which is Jesus Christ, 9990 on the cross. And then you got the hands. The hands are 234 and 432. Then basically you go inwards, 234 plus 99 and 432 minus 90. So that gives you the hands and the arms like this. So which is like a symbol of crucified person. Where these numbers are the hands, the other ones are the arms on the cross. So it's like Jesus Christ and his cross, crucifying the person. These are the numbers 234, 334, 432, and 432. And these are 13 times 18 is 234, which is the letters MR. 333 is 5 times 666, which is E666. 432, the right hand, is 3 times 8 times 18, which is CHR. And 9 times 19 times 242, which is ISB. So all together, you get mystery 666 Chris B. So basically, Jesus crucified me before I was born and right after I was born. So Jesus terrorizes babies. This is an ancient puzzle that was basically put together to crucify me in the future. Was to basically destroy my life, molest and terrorize and crucify me as a satanic ritual to make me like the most good person and put me on the cross, on Jesus's cross. It's either that or it's supposed to mean that I'm actually Jesus. So that would be Jesus Christ, mystery 666 Chris B. So there's another way. There's another way that 666 relates to me. So you got that on the cross, and then the hexagram seal of Solomon. So there you go. There's the apocalypse.
Chris also receives odd messages from the beings. Most of them are about praising Chris and varying complexity from a simple yes or no to an entire sentence depending on the question. Responses such as, "The God Chris B, He sees all," and "I love you Chris B," are common themes found within the journal. Throughout the journal, there are over 100 instances of communication with these mysterious beings. Later on, Chris provides pictures of the things he sees in the sky. He claims to see numbers, faces, and shapes in the sky, yet most of the time, these things are hard to make out. He even goes as far as saying that sometimes these aliens would speak to him through visions. He said, "Then I started getting visions, Every day I would spend my time sitting or laying around, passing the time, and when I'd lay down, I'd slip into a sudden trance and see visions of balls of light in a clouded night sky. With all this odd-going stuff, one must ask the question, who really is Chris B? Going back to the YouTube channel, we can see Chris is very religion-based. Many of his videos involve him talking to God, who we later find out is named Yahweh. At the beginning of each video, Chris writes a letter to Yahweh, and then goes on to see what his response is by looking at the clouds in the sky. If we look through all the videos, we can see exactly where Chris's mind is at. His channel starts out talking about proving God's existence, and about 20 videos in, he publishes a strange video called "The Antichrist is God." Later, he talks about the Antichrist. Then he claims that he is the Antichrist, and then he publishes a video about the teachings of the Antichrist. It seems as if he started it with the proper mindset, but as time continued, he became very dark. We can also see that this channel goes on. He tends to say terrible things about Canada and prays for their death and suffering. From his writing in the journal and some of his videos, it's safe to say that Chris grew up in Canada and was forced to participate in satanic rituals and was constantly molested. Because this occurred during the 70s and Chris was a child, it's safe to assume that he is roughly 50 years old. This is important because the early stages of Chris's life will determine how he operates for the rest of it. Growing up in a cult as Chris did is absolutely terrible. If he's telling the truth about the ritual abuse, then that would probably explain why he feels so close to the thing that Chris claims to be God. He probably found salvation in God after escaping from the satanic grasp the cult had on him. This gave him comfort and helped heal his past wounds. This explains why he knows so much about God and the Bible. This brings us to yet another question. Has he truly escaped the Satanism? Like mentioned earlier, Chris claims to be the Antichrist and talks to his friend Yahweh, asking for the death and suffering of all of Canada, and also talks about how he is the ultimate judge and will decide the fate of all of humanity. There is no argument about what it's like to be in a satanic cult. It's horrific. This, along with the molestations and sexual abuse from the government officials in Canada, must have had an everlasting effect on Chris. We now have two different ways to look at this whole situation involving Chris B. I don't think this is a hoax because of the mere size of the whole situation. This leaves us with two possible outcomes. Either the experience in the cult left Chris with a mental disorder, and he's a schizophrenic just imagining these things, or maybe there is a more dark, sinister answer. Maybe, just maybe, Chris never escaped the burning hands of the devil and the hallucination, lights in the sky, and talk of the Antichrist, and just the overall disturbing ambience of his channel are works of a greater evil trying to manifest here on Earth through Chris. Chris mentions being used as a puppet by the Canadians, but what if really Chris is being used as a puppet by a greater evil? This, I'll leave for you to decide. From one simple 4chan post to digging up the truth about the underground Canadian government cover-up, we will never know the truth about Chris B and who he really is. Whether this is a hoax, a mental illness, or something much bigger is at hand, I'll leave you with that question to answer. Leave a comment down below about what you think about everything. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you want more content like this, subscribe. I know it's my first video, so content quality will get better, and all the support always helps. Good night, and remember, the world isn't always what it seems.